a couple of thoughts. I joined the Millennial Mashup because I went to the place I was most scared of, and God, I was scared coming out of there because the excitement and the energy was just amazing. But I heard a couple things in there that were really fascinating to me. The purchase is political, just in the context of Unilever, we'll get to that in a second. Oh well is better than what if. That's interesting. Big goals ignite commitment and passion. Interesting. Build a community, not a Rolodex. Interesting. And so that's what I heard in there. And I just want you to know one thing about me before we start, and think about this as we go. I would challenge you to find your reason. Your reason in sustainability, your reason for living. And you'll understand a little bit more about that as I get into what I'm going to talk about. But as Christina said, I am with Unilever. I've been at Unilever 4 years. 4 years ago, I was living on a farm in Vermont. I had checked out of corporate America and said I've had enough. I thought what many people think, big companies can't do anything right, so I'll go where the small companies are. I'll move to Vermont. And I was lured away with an opportunity of a lifetime to join the big grand experiment at Unilever. Grand experiment meaning that a big company can actually have a different business model, a different strategy, and it can actually push forward and hopefully make some big changes, be a part of big changes in the world. So when I was hired as the head of sustainability and communications, which is, I haven't met anybody else in any other company that's got the same kind of mix. It actually has turned out to be quite interesting. So I do all the media relations, I do all the employee engagement and employee communications. I have a 10-year-old son. He's the reason, he's my reason, right? So if someone were to ask me, what's my reason, my 10-year-old son. I want him to join the world and have a world that's really a great place. And I often think about 8 years from now, I'll be driving him to the University of Maryland, because I think that's what I get for being up here, is I get some kind of a jump to the front of the line. I'll be driving him down here from Connecticut, where we live, and he's probably going to turn to me and he's probably going to say, where have you been for the last 10 years? I travel a lot, I work a lot, because I'm really passionate about what I work on. But I want it to be worth something. I want it to matter. I don't want it to be about that I had a title or I had a bunch of people working for me. Really, that's irrelevant to me. I want to be a part of a community of people, both within Unilever, outside Unilever, on college campuses, young people, old people, that actually did something really, really major for the world, something really transformative. So that's my reason. I talk about it all the time. I'm very open about it. There's a deeper story to it, obviously, but I'm constantly reminded every single morning when I wake up to go to Unilever to work why I'm doing this. And I just urge you to challenge yourself to think about, are you clear about what your reason is, what your why is? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it enough? And maybe you'll have something to say about that in a minute. But I get to Unilever, and my job title and my job description and my big goal from my boss who sits in London is, she says to me, your job is to create a movement for sustainable growth. I don't know what sustainable growth is. I don't know what a movement is. 4 years ago, I have a very good idea what they both are now, and neither one's easy. So it's probably good that I don't assume that anybody knows who Unilever is. On the way in here in my taxi, which I always do, I always ask my driver, do you know who Unilever is? Answer, not a clue. And I do that because I need to be grounded in, sometimes Unilever has a bit of a reputation in the sustainability space, but no one really knows who the company is. And he started guessing, and I said, we make consumer products, and he guessed all of our competitor products, and then he guessed another thing, and it was all. And then when I told him, have you ever used Dove? You ever had Ben & Jerry's? You know anything about Axe? All of a sudden he said, aha, yeah. So we have a little bit of a challenge in North America around Unilever. No one knows who we are, and that's a challenge. If I were sitting in London like I was yesterday, everybody in London would know exactly who Unilever was because we're a British and Dutch company. If you're in Holland, everybody knows who we are. If you're in India, everybody knows who we are. You come here, single-digit recognition of the name. So it's one of the missions that I'm on at the company, but we are making a number of brands across personal care, foods, and refreshments. We're fairly large. We have 400 brands, 190 countries, operations in 170,000 employees. This is usually the moment when the audience will start thinking, This is the reason why I don't like them, right? Thank you for the slide. It's the exact reason why I'm not sure I like Unilever or any other big company, because they're big and they can't possibly do anything that's worthwhile for the planet except make more money. And what I'm here to tell you today is hold that thought. Just hold that thought, be open-minded, and let's see if we can get to a different place. This idea that 2 billion people use one of our products today around the world. Today, 2 billion will use one of our products, to me, is actually the responsibility statement. We are not a company about corporate social responsibility. We're not a company that's doing philanthropy. We're not a company that's about our foundation. We're a company that's taking on a responsibility to say, if we're delivering products to 2 billion people, right, we have a responsibility to be a part of big societal change, big transformative change, and that's what we're doing. Our purpose as a company is to make sustainable living commonplace. Basically, to democratize sustainability. My wife is a whole food shopper. Okay, so she's in the super green category. There are those that deny it all and aren't green at all, if you will. Unilever's mission is basically to play for the middle. 70 or 80 or 90% of the consumers around the world, people around the world, are not super green, are not going to Whole Foods. And so we're playing for that middle. We're trying to transform whole societies into thinking about and living sustainably. And we're also trying to make our company operate sustainably. That's our model. I said we don't do CSR. Some companies talk about sustainability and they'll talk about the group down at the other end of the hall. Sustainability is our business strategy. It sits at the heart of the business strategy. It's the only way forward. There is no plan B. You can make up any metaphor you want, right? There is no other way forward in our mind than to act sustainably, do business sustainably, deliver to consumers sustainable products all throughout our business. So we talk about our brands, we talk about our own operations, we talk about our people, the 170,000. You're looking at one of two people in the entire sustainability group at Unilever. We don't have 50, 60, 100 behind me. I have one other person. The idea at Unilever is the 170,000 are the sustainability department. No matter what function you come from, my job primarily is to motivate people that are a lot smarter than me, have a lot more energy than me, to get involved, to ask questions, to ask the why. What can I do in what I'm doing, whether I'm in finance, whether I'm in supply chain, whether I'm in customer service, whether I'm in sales. Everybody has a role to play. Hence, why I love coming to campuses is to talk to young people to say, don't get too worked up about where you end up in a company. Just get into a good company and then go to work. And take your reason with you. Make sure your reason is right with you, right? Go into a company and say, I want to start asking the question why. I want to know why. We want that at Unilever, and we're begging for it, actually. How it contributes to our business. I was talking to a young person upstairs just a moment ago. He's at the University of Maryland. He's getting his master's in sustainability. He did the Uni-Who on me, which confirmed what I need to know. And then he said to me, a very pivotal moment, he said, I thought sustainability actually cost money. I thought this was all about costing the business money. And so our model is based on this idea that it is about four things. It's about growing our business most significantly. It's about building trust in our business. If you've seen the Edelman Trust Barometer, you know that businesses, I think, have lower trust and reputation, big business, if you will, or businesses, than Donald Trump. And Donald's probably higher than business, actually, at this point, but low. And so we know we have to build more trust. We know that we have to take costs out of our business, and we know that we have to reduce our risk. That's the model. That's basically the model. Up until 2014, I basically was going around with all my Unilever colleagues saying, with a proposition that said, brands with a purpose grow faster. Brands with a purpose grow faster. That was our belief. So if you looked at our brands, why was Dove growing faster than the other personal care brands? Was it because of the Dove Self-Esteem program? We thought that. Why is Ben & Jerry's the fastest growing ice cream brand? Because they care about social justice, because they're in a lot of issues, they're in the lead on marriage equality. They're the fastest growing ice cream brand for the largest ice cream maker in the world. Why? And we had this hypothesis, which we actually then went to work on deep into the financials, and we discovered and announced last year that 50% of all the growth at Unilever comes from the brands that have a purpose. 50%. They grow twice as fast as the other brands, and the core operating margin, or the bottom line, is actually better than the other brands. We only have 14 or 15 sustainable living brands that are clearly identified right now as we speak. We're on the path to get to 400. We'll go to the biggest brands first, and then we'll go through. We would love to get to 400, but it takes a lot of time because you've got to be really authentic about it. So the growth story for us is it's been borne out now, and we're gonna continue down that path. Trust, you know, it's interesting. We're the #1 employer in 34 countries. We're #3 on LinkedIn. I just went to the Uni-Who. Only Apple and Google are ahead of us. Right? So it's got something to do with, I think, our view of the world on sustainability. It's got something to do with our view about climate change. It's got something to do with our view about sustainable development goals. It's got something to do with that we're actually trying to push a different agenda. We're taking costs out. We've taken $600 million out of our business just by doing the right thing. We're zero waste to landfill across all of our business, all of our distribution centers. And most people say that had to cost you money. It didn't cost us. It saved us money. We actually took the money that we saved and we plowed it right back into our brands. So, and de-risking our supply chains. We're very reliant on supply chains, particularly in agriculture. Very reliant on soybeans out of Iowa. Very reliant on some of these things. It's in our best interest to maintain these supply chains. So we get very close into these supply chains and work with smallholder farmers so that they have more income. It's in our best interest. It's in their best interest. It's in our best interest. Make no mistake. Unilever doesn't exist to be nice. We don't exist to be charitable. We exist to make money, yes, and we exist to actually hopefully be a transformative force amongst business to say, we better get our act together and move together forward on the big issues of the day. So when I talk about a sustainable living brand, just think of this. We've asked each of our brands to think very carefully about what role do they have in society and what societal issue are they addressing. And if they decide they don't want to do that, then we ask them to leave the business, and we take them out. Dove's purpose is around self-esteem for young teenage girls. Campaign for real beauty, self-confidence, right? We have a soap brand not sold in the United States called Lifebuoy, and it's all about hand washing. You may scratch your head and say, why hand washing? Because 6 million kids are dying before the age of 5 from diarrhea, and they wouldn't die if they just washed their hands. It's a simple model. More kids live, and we sell more soap. That's the model. We have the largest hand-washing campaign in the world is Unilever's. 400 million kids will go through the program. So the idea is, if we can get to that place with our business, where the brands stand for something big in society, we do the right thing in our own operations, we can actually transform business. Because our hope is, and I think we're seeing some evidence, when we do this, other companies follow. They'll say, there's something to this model, I better do the same thing. So our most recent brand with a purpose is Vaseline. We just launched it in January in the United States. It's very interesting. It always comes from an insight that's there. If you look close enough, it's there. It just falls out for you. The insight was, in disaster areas, in natural disasters, in Syria, in refugee camps, the insight was basically, from the doctors returning, it's usually a skin-related issue. So Vaseline's whole reason for being over the last 120 years has been about healing, skin healing. So we've now put Vaseline with a group called Direct Relief together, and we're actually starting to address these concerns around the world when they happen. Great for the brand, great for the world, great for these people. And so really, really cool, off to a great start. The brand is growing faster and performing better, and we're actually reaching a whole bunch of people that weren't being reached. Now, say what you will, I was waiting for the snicker. Axe, as you know, has had an interesting history, let's call it. Axe demographic is a 14 to 24-year-old male. It's been about boy gets girl, skirt chasing, you call it whatever you'd like. Very, very successful brand, very relevant to that population. Quite honestly, made me quite nervous. I'm not an Axe consumer, but I also thought that the positioning was edgy, let's call it. This year, Axe has repositioned the brand after a long, long soul-searching kind of thing, which is they contemporize themselves. They brought themselves into their world as we know it now. And it's all about finding your individuality, that you are good enough just the way you are. Just the way you are. And so it's called Find Your Magic. It's really powerful. It will reach males primarily, but it will reach communities of people to say, just be who you are. That's okay. It's good enough. And everything will work out great for you. And we had a Super Bowl ad, and I was expecting, I'm the communication guy, so the sustainability guy was talking about Find Your Magic, and then I spent the Super Bowl getting ready for the onslaught of people that would say, how dare you? And it didn't come. What came was millions of people online talking about, this is a really authentic ad. This is a really authentic brand. This is the issue I want to talk about. I want to talk about individuality. I want to talk about celebration of people and humans. And so we're off to a good start here, too. I'm going to end, and you probably, and then I want to get right into the questions. I'm going to end with just another way. So Ben & Jerry's is a little different. We bought Ben & Jerry's in 2000. They're a founder-led company. Ben & Jerry actually exists. They've been long in this space. They're about social justice. They were way out in front on marriage equality. They've been get the dough out of politics. I don't know if you've seen, any of you have stamped dollar bills at the Ben & Jerry shops or any of that. I mean, they are out in different places. Really, really exciting. They know their fans very well. They're very big on social media. They also have their own board of directors. So when Unilever bought them, the requirement was that Ben & Jerry's would have their own board of directors. They would pick those people, and those people would solely be the protectors of their social purpose and their social mission. They did not want anybody like Unilever or anybody else to tell them, this is what you need to care about now. So many don't know, but Greenpeace is actually on the board of Ben & Jerry's. Interesting. Heifer International. They have social justice folks on there. Calvert Fund is on there. So it's a very interesting group. I get to meet with them occasionally. I don't consider it to be kind of the David and Goliath or anything like that. We learn from them, and they learn from us. And it's really nice that we've given them space to kind of think it through. But they took a very definitive point of view on climate change. I would say kind of very consistent to where Unilever was. Our CEO, Paul Pullman, who's been quite active in climate change at the COP21, he's been very active in Sustainable Development Goals, is really a driver of bringing business into the climate change conversation, leading big coalitions of business saying, basically, get off your ass and get in this game. There is no other way. Ben & Jerry's took a slightly different tack. They bought a Tesla. They skinned it, Save This World. They created an ice cream brand called Save This World. They started in California, and they went to college campuses. The Tesla became the ice cream truck. You open the tailgate, out comes, on hydraulics, out comes the ice cream. And they started in California, and they came across the country. The front of the hood came up, and it had 25 iPads. And it was basically, get an ice cream, sign up. They collected 3 million names on this little journey of activity, running around. So very activist-driven, and all these people got very active at COP21. They had their own demonstration, they did their own things there, they had their own march, brilliant. But here was their take on climate change and the ad. Rob, let's run the video.
This is what happens when ice cream is just 2 degrees warmer than it should be. For Ben & Jerry's, it's a mess. For the planet, it's a medicine. Because a 2-degree warming of our planet's climate would have an equally dramatic, though much more significant, impact. But we can prevent it. If we take action and demand that governments, policymakers, and business leaders do what it takes to stay below 2 degrees, we can reverse the trend of climate change. By acting now, we'll create innovative solutions that keep our planet, and those who live on it, thriving. Because while a 2-degree change may not seem like much, the truth is, it means the world to us. Join the global climate movement and take action now at benjerry.com/climate.
So that's Ben & Jerry's view of the world, and it's great. So all the brands All the brands are being basically asked to do that in whatever their voice is, whoever their demographic is. That's really the story. It's hard. We are looking for people that have a reason. We are looking for people that want to come into Unilever and change the world. We are looking for smart, energetic people all the time. We're not, I see I'm stopping, so we're not an organization, I would say, that is all hung up on titles. We're hung up on people that are really energetic to be a part of a bigger story. And with that, I will, if you have a comment, question, challenge, would offer you to come to the mic here, and so we can all hear your question. If you could just come to the mic here, we can talk a little.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Well, to start with, I guess I'm one of the few people who actually know of Unilever. My mom worked for Unilever when it was still Lever Brothers in Zimbabwe back in the 70s. I think that was her first job out of high school. So I guess my question would be, you mentioned that Unilever is in over 100 countries. How is the social value creation being implemented, I guess, especially in the third world countries where Unilever has factories? How is that being, how does it get to those countries? You mentioned it's just two people, you and somebody else, who does the social enterprise.
Right. Just for North America.
Okay.
So I only look after U.S. and Canada.
Okay.
I have colleagues around the world in my function, but there aren't that many. We don't call them third world, we call them developing. We have very, very strong programs that are locally relevant. So we have a Shakti program in India, which is all about young entrepreneurs where they actually sell our products from their home. And underemployed women or people with no wages. We have smallholder farmers. It's so hard for me to kind of communicate to some of my colleagues at Unilever because much of what we do is around smallholder farms in Kenya, in India, in Indonesia, in Malaysia. They have 1 hectare. And I'm dealing with soybean farmers in Iowa that have 20,000. So wherever it's relevant, we have massive programs around water, sanitation, hygiene. We own water companies, right? So we own a toilet bowl cleaner, and it's all around hygiene and the indignity of how many probably billions of people that don't actually have a toilet, right? And so the idea is that we're working with the government of India, and Prime Minister Modi has now announced that he's going to do 100 million toilets. We're right in the middle of that. Why? Because we make a toilet bowl cleaner. So increasing hygiene is the right thing to do for the planet, but it's also great for our business. And so we're in hygiene. And so we have programs around the world. South Africa, almost in every country, we have something going that's very relevant. Lots of it's around women's empowerment because many of the farmers are women.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you know how Uni and Lever came? Do you understand how that all works? Uni was a margarine company out of Holland. Lever was a soap company out of Great Britain. They came together to form Unilever. Just a little fact, because a lot of people say Unilever. I don't even understand how that works. But Uni was Dutch. She's going to her book.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So what's the best advice you could give to students who want to pursue a career in sustainability through corporate companies such as Unilever? What's the best advice for students who want to get into roles like that? Just because I feel like they are generally roles for.
I can't speak for all companies. So the question was, what's the best way for a student to get into a company?
In sustainability.
In sustainability. I can only speak from my experience, okay? Here's what happens. Every once in a while, a job comes open in my team. The flood of things come in. What overwhelms me is when I ask the why, I never get below, I want to change the world. It's almost as if the folks that are applying have not gone one level deeper to think, at a deeper level, what's going on for you? And I'm non-judgmental about what anybody cares about. I just want you to care about something, like really deeply. Because I'm trying to create a team, and we're trying to create 170,000 people that are all in the same story. They may have different passion points, but they're all in the same story, driving for the same thing. What I'm getting a lot of is people that are highly technical about different measurements and all these sorts of things, which I think at some level are important. But what's more important to me is, are you going to be somebody that's going to come in and give us energy and take out energy and be a good communicator to what our mission is, what we're working on. My advice is to look for companies that you think share the same value and what you want to do. Some folks want to work in a big company and kind of be in a big company. I don't want to be in a big company. You know, if I hadn't come to Unilever, I was done. I was all done. I was going to stay on the farm, right? I'm going to just stay on the farm. I'm also 51 years old, right? You're just coming in now. And you probably have a lot to offer. You do have a lot to offer. So you should call someone at Unilever. I'll give you my card. Call me. We can talk. But you know, I'm very explicit because I don't have that many job openings. I'm very explicit about what I'm looking for. And I think a lot of my colleagues in other functions are getting very explicit. They're looking for that person that's well-rounded. I'm assuming you're bright people coming out of this school. I'm assuming that you got all that's done. I'm looking for the differentiator that says this person's bringing something extra. They're going to bring a passion and a commitment to this work that's really, really hard on a daily basis, and they're going to actually lead a whole bunch of people in this movement. That's what I'm looking for. Were you hoping for? What were you hoping I was going to tell you?
That was perfect. That was exactly what I was looking for.
And I'll give you my card. You call me. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know that much about Unilever. I've heard of it a couple of times, and I've heard you briefly mention that you work with some farmers. And I was just wondering if you guys have any companies involved in your organization or brands involved in your organization that deal with like fisheries resources or aquaculture and things like that.
We don't, but we did. We used to be big into fish sticks, and we were the founding member of the Marine Stewardship Council, way back when it was created, which was a leaping off point, really. That was in '95 or something like that. So Unilever's been in this story a long time, but we've kind of refined our message along the way. So we believe in collaboration. It's the only way forward. We do very few things alone. We don't create things and hold them like this is our idea. We're always looking for others to step into the conversation. Marine Stewardship Council is a great one. Consumer Goods Forum is another place where the top 400 companies have come together and said, what are we going to care about? What are we going to work on? Let's do it together. I'm working very, very much in Iowa in agriculture because our number one commodity purchase in the United States is soybeans to go into Hellmann's mayonnaise. And we want to improve the conditions and the farming techniques on these big farms in Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois. But we're not going it alone. We're going through a group called Field to Market. So we're not doing anything in aquaculture or anything like that right now. Unilever's big. We tend to be very aggressive, and we like to buy great companies. So I can't preclude that won't happen, but not right now.
I was just asking because it seems like U.S. doesn't hold a very big share of aquaculture, but that's growing, and I didn't know
Yeah.
if that was something that you guys were involved in.
I hear a lot about cool stuff going on in that space at some of the places I go.
And with the technology improving, I think a lot of them are working towards a more sustainable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do a lot of work with something called the Stone Barns. It's up in New York. And Dan Barber is the chef. And I don't know if you know Dan Barber, but this guy is big into fishery and big into sustainable ingredients on where he serves, what he serves his customers. But I had the board of directors of Unilever in recently, and I thought, you know, I have a lot of moments where I do things and I question in my mind, is this the last day I work at Unilever? Right? You know, you got to be audacious to do. In my mind, if you're not audacious, nothing audacious will happen. So I'm audacious pretty much all the time. And I thought that it'd be cool to actually serve our board of directors a meal that was solely created out of things that came out of the garbage can in his kitchen. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. The bread for the hamburger came from bread that had been thrown away. And he reconstitutes it and all this sort of stuff. And we didn't tell them until they were halfway through their meal when Dan came out and told them what was going on. Thankfully, they all thought it was cool and interesting and nice. But, you know, and he talks a lot about fish. So check out this guy, Dan Barber. He's big into fish. he ends up doing, the idea that he served us was such a cool idea that he ended up doing a pop-up restaurant in New York where everything on the menu was scraps. And it was so outrageously successful that he had to shut it down, and now he's thinking about maybe opening a full-time restaurant that way. So, thank you for the question. Robert. Can you come to the mic, Robert? Yeah. Because they're going to want to know. Robert's with Earth Color, a very alternative. I would call you an alternative printer.
So full disclosure, I know Jonathan really well. He actually lives. Unilever is actually about 4.5 miles from my house. And I remember the first time I met him, it was actually here. So a couple of questions.
Yeah.
It's like you lived on a farm, you left the farm, you went to corporate America. And I had known Unilever 10, 12 years ago. And when I tell you he's different, he's really different. He cares. And I know he's really effectuated tremendous change. So when you first went there, how well were you received? Because you were coming with all these really new ideas going into a company that only cares about profit, didn't look at brands the way they're looking at them today. And you go into meetings and everyone's saying, really? So, what was it like?
You want to know the truth, or you want me to make up a story?
You want me the truth, but you want me to tell the truth.
It's amazing what people think of Vermont. Just think about like people have a very distinct vision of Vermont. Bernie Sanders now, but you know, when I came into the company and they would know that I was from Vermont, you know what people used to do? Tree hugger. There were a lot of names. There was a lot of names. Or what are you doing here? You know, we're a big company. We're all about profit. You can't know anything about that. You won't care about that. It was. I would say it was a bit dismissive at the start. You know, but if you would ask me what I was most proud of, I always think to get to the root of everything, you need to really get to know people. You need to know people at a deeper level than what's their title, where'd they come from. And my colleagues at Unilever that are here in the audience will know that we've done a lot of work around finding your purpose, sharing it with others. You know, to create a movement, it always starts with one person. I'm not always the leader, but I'm a very, very aggressive follower. Right? People that have really cool ideas, I like to get behind and I like to be a part of that. You know, creating movements is all about the leader and a whole bunch of followers. And so it was interesting. You know, I made a couple demands coming in because I was in corporate America before, and I'd had an experience where I was in an organization where CSR or sustainability kind of sat at the other end of the hall, and they running the foundation, and it was kind of the old way in my view. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to have that same experience. So I made several demands coming in. One was that I would be on the leadership team. And the second was that if I get any notion of that this is actually greenwashing, a PR campaign, or really not real, I would like to have the ability to slide out of here very quietly, no fanfare, and we're all friends. And I got both commitments. And it's actually above and beyond my wildest imagination, because we are actually creating a movement, not as fast as I hope for, but you know that's sometimes the way it is. The big ideas are not necessarily coming from the top. If I look at some of the biggest ideas we've had, they're coming from lower level employees that are just basically, you know, coming into the company and saying, "I want more." Right? I don't know. It feels like you know, we have this LinkedIn thing. We have so many people applying. We got 2 million resumes last year. Right? And so we're seeing a lot of people, and then they get in the company and they come in and they're not just sitting on their hands saying, you know, I guess someone will figure it out. They're calling me up and they're saying, you know, why isn't there a community garden at the headquarters? Well, there should be. Start digging. And they did. Right? I didn't have any authority to do that. I just said start digging. What's that thing they're spraying on the lawn? I mean, these may not sound like they're important for a business, but to actually light people up and say, we are giving you not only the permission, we are requiring you to use your voice and help create this company that we're trying to say, what do you want? Because you're coming out of college, you're coming out of a university, you're coming out of Net Impact, and you said you wanted all that. You came into the company, don't be quiet, be loud. And so, you know, it may get so loud that they won't need me, and that's okay, right? But I feel like I'm in this grand experiment where it's like, We've turned it on now. We're doing this thing now where you create the agenda. We have town halls with our CEO, and it used to be that I would sit there and write the 48 slides, and he'd do the town hall, and it was nice. A lot of people went away confused. So we just changed it. You set the agenda. You tell us what you want the town hall to be, and he'll address it when he gets on stage. It's changed everything. I got 800 comments for the first town hall doing it that way. And it wasn't what he wanted to talk about. Trust me, it wasn't exactly what he wanted to talk about. It was what they wanted to talk about. And we're doing it now everywhere. We're just saying, you set the agenda, and let's just see where this takes us. And I would encourage people that are in companies, out of companies, to be that challenging, because I think that's the world we live in now, is basically this idea that don't be passive. Why be passive? It's no fun. It's not fun being passive. And don't be scared. Because if you're really good and you're really passionate and you're committed, it may not work out where you are, but it'll work out great somewhere else. You know, it'll work out great, great, great. So my thing is, you know, I want to be around a bunch of people that are lit up. My job is to light the fuse and then get out of the way, right? And try to channel it and try to work on big things that matter. I got no interest in working on small things. When I arrived 4 years ago, I felt like Unilever was a little bit, we were really wide on a lot of things. We were working on a lot of stuff, but it was about an inch thick. And I said, I want to be about 3 or 4 things deep. I want to be in renewable energy. I want to be in sustainable agriculture. I want to be this brands with a purpose agenda. I don't really need that much more. I want to work with my supply chain colleagues to go zero waste to landfill. I want to work at, you know, natural gas trucks. I want to work at intermodal. I want to work on all these things that matter, that are big and save us money and do the right thing. I don't really care about press releases. We probably under-communicate at some level. I don't care about that. What I do care about is impact. What I do care about is transformation. I always ask myself the question, what I'm working on right now, is it going to end in transformation or is it going to end in something small? And then we get rid of the small stuff. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that you have a lot of plastic in your packaging.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you've thought about that. The garbage patch is big, getting bigger, and I think you could have a big impact by reducing.
You're absolutely right. I'm truly in a place of, it's a top priority for this year. We're going to do post-consumer resins and things, so PCR, recycled content. We got to do better. You know the truth is, recycling rates are down in the United States. There's no value, therefore there's no MRFs, or there's no processing facilities. We have to design from the beginning the plastic out. You know what I mean? We have to, at Unilever, we're working a lot now with our R&D and some of the really smart people in that whole space to say, design in from the beginning plastic reduction. You know, we have a plastic thing, we have an innovation now, I forget the name of it, but we actually blow air bubbles into the plastic to reduce the amount of plastic. Do you remember the name? I think it's called, I don't want to make up a name. But we're constantly trying to, I'm sorry? Someone have it? No. Bubbles in this plastic, we've got to do better. We've got to do better. And we're working on it. So there's a recycling story. We could get to a great recycling story, but still have too much plastic. We've recently come through this whole issue of microbeads. Are you familiar with it? Really complicated issue, actually, when you get down to it. We have some of our brands that have ground up walnuts that are the abrasive. Doesn't work for all products. We need to get those out. We need to get the microbeads out. Guess where they end up? So we're aware of those issues. We encourage you to continue to push us and the industry, because it's not going to be Unilever solving anything by itself. I am absolutely outraged by the gyra and the plastic in the ocean as a personal kind of pet peeve of mine. So don't have all the answers. We need to, I'm learning I think we collectively at Unilever and others are learning a lot. Like, we're learning now from our friends in the recycling business, I didn't know this, optical scanners can pick out the plastic. Some of them have a lot of value, some don't have any value at all. A Coke bottle has a lot of value. A shampoo bottle has no value. The other thing we found out was that the optical scanner cannot see a black package. And they go right over here. Did you notice what Axe was in? So that's our design. That's our design principle. That's a choice we're going to have to make. And we're going to make those choices. We're going to take the hard calls. So thank you for the question. It's really, really important. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. upstairs.
I'm gonna be over here.
Yeah, so we're gonna.
That's right, they're good. They wanna
Let's-
drink.
Let's thank Jonathan, then you can do your own questions
Thank you.
after.